If you're not fired up with what's going on in the NHL, you best check your pulse, and we'll help you do just that on the latest edition of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Battle of Florida, Battle of Ontario, Kaprizov doing special things, and of course, big-time bets. Let's get this paper.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back inside the lab, my fantasy fanatics, to the Thursday episode of your daily 30-minute source for fantasy hockey, betting breakdowns, and all of the NHL news that you need to keep your finger on the pulse. It's the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. I'm joined, as always, by my distinguished co-host, Mr. Steele, Rodin, on this side of the microphone. It's your boy, Big Flip Livingstone. You know what I got to do. Show love, shout out, salute, much love to the everydayers holding us down, making us your first listen every single day. Steele, there is no shortage of angles to get to on today's episode. We'll be back with a couple of top 5 and top 10 breakdowns to make sure the fantasy angles you need are also covered. But for Thursday's episode, these series are starting to really heat up. And even in the Battle of Ontario, where the Leafs are up 2-0, there is so much to talk about. Battle of Florida. Also, your boy, Kaprizov, the Minnesota Wild, back in business. And we'll try, if we can, to touch on the Blues and Jets. We'll get to tonight's betting board. Straight over to you. Maybe we do this one quick because we have a lot to say about the other few series. Florida flex their muscle in the first game. What are your thoughts? What do they need to do to continue to take it to Tampa in game 2? And overall, how are you feeling about this series?
Yeah, I was really taken aback by that game from Tampa Bay, and I think Florida caught them by surprise with the energy they brought into the building from the top 6 lineup. Obviously, getting Matthew Tkachuk back into the lineup after missing the last remainder of the regular season, pops off for 2 goals, 3 points on the night, gets in on the physicality, the forecheck, always creating chaos in front of the net. The one thing that I wanted to highlight from the highlights I watched in the Battle of Florida was the amount of creating, again, disturbance in front of Vasilevsky, and the way Florida was able to put their sticks into open ice. I believe 3, maybe 4 goals were deflections or, shot passes in front. The Sam Reinhart tip was specifically beautiful to watch from the point shot to him right on top. There was nowhere to be found, and then his stick just pops out of nowhere. Of course, Sam Bennett's deflection, batting it out of the midair for the first goal of the game. Wanted to highlight a good job for the Florida Panthers in doing that. And I just think the Tampa Bay Lightning got caught off guard there. Vasilevsky, I don't think was at his best, but there was a lot of pucks that were deflected. Again, just, chaos in front of him. And Florida was winning all of those battles. So, some bright spots from Jake Gensel, Braden Point, Nikita Kucherov, obviously, but a little bit shocked with the score there, 6-2 to finish that one. It's going to be a completely different story in game 2.
After the last couple of seasons, Matthew Tkachuk's fantasy value has dipped some. Shot totals way down. Point totals dipping. Obviously, there's still peripheral love. Last season, he went up to 151 in hits. This year, injuries, a big factor. When you play the style that he plays, this makes sense. However, clearly, his impact on the game the other night was immeasurable. And also, when you take a look at his actual point production over the last 2 postseasons, he is only behind a trio of Oilers in Draisaitl, Bouchard, and McDavid for total playoff scoring. This guy's a difference maker. You've heard it from me multiple times. The swagger permeates from him through this team to all of their success. Thank you for mentioning the stick battles. You've also heard that from me before. Very tough team to play against. # Paul Maurice. And when you look at some of these numbers, Steele, 57% in the faceoff dot for the Florida Panthers in game 1. 48 hits to 28 hits for the Florida Panthers in game 1. 2-1 on block shots. This is going to be a problem for the Tampa Bay Lightning if the rest of their depth scoring doesn't get going. It can't be Point and Kucherov and Gensel doing it all. This is the playoffs. We know this. Same old song and dance. Takeaway, though, for me, right off the bat, Matthew Tkachuk healthy should still be considered an elite fantasy option. And if he's around after the first 15 or so picks, that's a steal and a slip for me. I know I'm maybe preaching, but he is still, to bring that fantasy lens, very, very top 2 round relevant. And I think, Steele, the Tampa Bay Lightning, as much as they're still alive in this series, they need to show out in game 2, because if Florida keeps doing their thing, it's going to be a very quick series.
And let's not forget, clearly the better Tkachuk in the NHL right now. Matthew is popping off. Shots there, of course, going into game 3 of Battle of Ontario. But just to wrap up with Matthew Tkachuk on his value.
We've got a lot to get to, so wrap that bad boy up.
Will do. Just to wrap it up on his value going into next year, fantasy hockey-wise, it's difficult to say if he is still a first or second round draft pick just because obviously injured, but from a triple point digit 2 seasons ago, 88 points the year before that, finishes with 57 in 55 games. As much as we like to say physical player, he is 84 hits on the year, 156 shots, obviously everything down because of the injury. I don't know if he's quite a first round draft pick, late second round. That's as high as I would go for Matthew Tkachuk.
I like that.
I still think fantasy hockey wise, Brady is actually the better player just because of what he does everywhere peripherally, even though he doesn't jump off the page as high as Matthew Tkachuk offensively. That's just my take. Both Matthew Tkachuk and Brady Tkachuk, top three round draft picks in the fantasy hockey realm. Do you want to get over to the Battle of Ontario? Leafs up 2-0 in a series for the first time since 2001. Your boy was in the building again. That's why my voice is so shot right now. The superstitions were in full effect. I wore the exact same outfit that I did on game 1 and game 2.
I see you.
It panned out. Let's get into it. Battle of Ontario. What did you see from game 2 from the Maple Leaf squad? Obviously, we'll talk about and touch on the Ottawa Senators, but what did you like? What did you dislike from the Buds here?
2 things right away, and everyone's been talking about it, but Steele, I'm not going to say this team feels different, this year feels different, because that's just all kind of, it's chatter, right? And we buy into this as Leafs fans, and that's okay. But I want to see intangibles on the ice, or tangibles on the ice. And what I saw in the first period from this Maple Leafs team, they fell short of replicating it for 3 full periods. And that's what it's about at this time of year. They are playing with a new sense of purpose. They are looking complete out there at both ends of the ice. They're in sync. They're playing smart hockey. They're looking like a team that is ready to finally put some of these narratives to bed. Do you still have to do it? Yes. Do you still have to roll into Ottawa tonight and blow the doors off of a team that, if you thought that their best performance was coming in game 2, you're going to get the kitchen sink thrown at you in game 3 if you're the Toronto Maple Leafs? So I think this is the clear litmus test for this team so far this season, and what we've seen over the last number of seasons. Tonight is huge for the Leafs. And I'll wrap this up and throw it back to you, because I already know we have a whole bunch to say. Maybe we do it after the break. You cannot let your foot off the pedal. And they did just that. And that's been the undoing of this team for a number of seasons. They're more than good enough. They are more than talented enough. Is there still things to tighten up? Yes. But this Craig Berube bunch is playing a different style. They are very much committed to the two-way game. Are they the Stanley Cup champs? Are they the Eastern Conference champs? We're not talking about that. But if they continue to play like they did for the first, when did you text me? First intermission? For the first, let's say, 23 minutes of that game, they will win this series handily. Can they do that? That's a big question. Let's see tonight.
Look, that's exactly what happened. The first period was probably the worst period the Ottawa Senators have played all season long. and the Maple Leafs came out swinging, and they put them on their heels early, going up 2-0 in that first period. And then the dynamic and the energy just completely switched. They came out flat to start the second. The Ottawa Senators had them pinned in their own zone for majority of the period and for the third period. Even without putting a shot on net in the third, Ottawa again was just they had complete control of the play for the second and third period of this game. So there's a lot that we're going to talk about. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in depth after the break, and of course a few other points that I want to talk about. Of course, Flip, we'll get to the Wild tying up their series 1-1 apiece. The boys are buzzing right now. Kirill Kaprizov after the break.
If you're not tapped into the Locked On Fantasy Hockey podcast, smash the subscribe button, drop us a 5-star review, and make sure you're checking out today's sponsor, our friends from FanDuel Sportsbook. The NBA playoffs are here, and FanDuel gives new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet and hit $250 in bonus bets back in your account, FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether picking the favorites or diving into those player props, three-pointers, steals, assists. FanDuel gives you so many ways to bet on your favorite player props or go the steal and flip route. A couple of same-game parlays for the head tops. We'll be talking about our bets at the end of the episode. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com today and claim your $250 in bonus bets.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey podcast your first listen every single day. Like Flip said, hit the subscribe button, the follow button, leave a 5-star review for your boys here. We appreciate all that love and support.
It's a fact.
Flip, you know what I'm going to say right now. I freaking love Simon Benoit, baby. What a play in the defensive zone to strip Batherson of that garbage backhand throwaway pass, skates it up, finds Domi, goes to the net, creates the screen. And then after, I don't know if you noticed, but he did a little celebration by himself in the corner. He was feeling it. I'm loving what Benoit is bringing to the table right now. He's not our top 4 defenseman. I don't even know if he's our top 5 defenseman, but he's the best damn 6th defenseman in the National Hockey League right now. I love him, Flip. That's number 1. Number 2.
I like it. Juice is flowing, baby. Juice is flowing.
The voice is coming back right now. Number 2, though, that is the exact type of game where you need Auston Matthews to drive the play. That's the type of game when you need him to do that. Auston Matthews, to me, while there were some still good areas that I watched live from the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs, you need your superstar goal scorer to take over in some spots, just like we saw with Connor McDavid in the third period of the Oilers game 1 against the Kings, where he scored a goal, had 2 assists, and just absolutely carry them to tie in that game. That's when you need Auston Matthews to be at his best. Unfortunately, the 4 stars, the 4 top core guys disappeared for the last 40 minutes of the game. Max Domi was pretty much irrelevant up until his game-winning goal.
For sure.
That one, it could have gone either way. We could have been going to Ottawa tied 1-1 series. I'm going to take the 2-0. I'm going to take the 2-0 series, go back to bed, sleep on it, whatever. It's all good. Now we're up 2-0 headed to Ottawa. But that was a very nerve-wracking game getting in the later stages of that one. Final point before I throw it back over to you. We're talking about the blocks in the Battle of Florida.
Thank you.
32 blocks to 6, I believe it was, for the Toronto Maple Leafs over the Ottawa Senators. They also outblocked the Ottawa Senators in game 1, too. That's going to be one of the biggest factors in this series because Ottawa didn't have a single shot up until they scored that goal in the third period. With the amount of blocks from Tanev, McCabe, Matthews at times, the forward groups, I absolutely love seeing that. They're putting their body on the line. Even if they get out hit, who cares? Get in front of lanes, block those pucks, keep Stolarz happy and secure back there. Let him bang away on Ridley Gregg, destroying that little rat. I love seeing that too. Over to you, my friend, on what you saw as well.
First and foremost, respect to you for holding it down with your voice. Respect to you for bringing that energy. Usually it's me who has to come on out, or you comes on after
fired
me,
up, baby.
Calms things down. So I'm going to just say respect, tranquilo, my friend, tranquilo. However, 2 things quick. You mentioned Matthews. He's also impacting the game other ways. And once he starts doing with the goal scoring, Tista bets, he is going to take over this series. 4 block shots for Matthews, tied for the team lead. 3 hits for Matthews. Am I butchering this? 4 block shots for Matthews, 2 hits. He is getting it done at both ends of the ice right now. And yeah, we really need him to score goals if we're going to talk serious about this run. Let's see it happen. I think game 3 is the moment for Poppy. He has huge success in Ottawa against the Senators. Also, the 4th line has looked sensational. And I know a first rounder and change for Scott Laughton still looks like a lot. We're not talking about it if this team continues to roll out that 4th line with success. So I'll just throw that out there, Steele. And I think we should probably take a deep breath and move on to the Minnesota Wild if you're good with it. Because look, now we have a series. And let's start with the fantasy angle of what you and I have been waiting to happen with Matt Boldy, and I think it's here. And I know you've watched this team very closely over the last couple of years, so I'm going to turn it over to you. And I hate giving away too many of the players that you and I really love, because now there's, I think, I have to go back. I think there's 4 or 5 that we really love to blow up next season. I say Matt Boldy, right at the top of that list, especially if Kaprizov is feeding the sauce like he did in game 2.
He has to be. He has to be at the top of that list. And I love you for bringing him up. I love the fact that you have his back. I love the fact that you've been supporting this guy.
I have your back too, pal. Don't forget.
Appreciate that as well. I know you do. But I love the fact that you love Matt Boldy, and you're starting to come around this team in Minnesota a little bit and what the potential could be. 73 points, career high for him this past regular season in 82 games, 52 hits, 69 blocks, 271 shots on net. And I still think he could get to 35 goals, maybe even potentially 40 goals next year. I know Kaprizov's the superstar, the goal scorer, but Matt Boldy's been fantastic. And his finishing ability now is consistent, and there's confidence with his shot. I love what I'm seeing from Matt Boldy, and like you and I have talked about, I still think that, and you agree that there's still one key player missing from this team from putting them over the top.
Yes.
But they proved last night that they can hang with the big dogs and that they can take the game to them. And that's exactly what they did on the road in a tough building in Vegas that has recently won a Stanley Cup, that has only missed the playoffs once. They told everyone, don't undervalue us. Don't overlook us right now, because we've got one of the best stars in Kirill Kaprizov. And you and I talked about that before we hopped on. Oh my God. That saucer pass, 6 feet in the air, off his back foot, right on the tape to Boldy.
Yes.
The second best pass in NHL playoffs behind the Erik Karlsson from a few years ago to Mike Hoffman. I know you said the McDavid pass the other night in game 1 was pretty spectacular too. Kaprizov is dangerous. Doesn't matter who he's playing with. Doesn't matter where he's playing. You could put him in the crease for all I care. He's scoring goals in the parking lot with a blindfold, turned around with his hands tied behind his back. He's finding you. Kirill, the thrill, Kaprizov.
Thank you so much. I'm feeling this episode, but also I just want to throw a little bit of a damp rag on this quick time. Vegas dominated in the dot 59%. Vegas also outshot the Minnesota Wild 22-7 over the final 2 periods. So I'm not going to get overly hype about the end of this series. I am going to get overly hype about Kirill's ability to change games. And that's what he did against the Golden Knights in game 2. And that's what he's going to need to continue to do. Let's quickly touch on the Blues and the Jets super fast. And then let's spit out these bets and make sure you guys tap into the channel all week long.
And let's not forget about Philip Gustafsson, 914 save percentage in the 2 games. He's been spectacular in the crease. And we talked about that. If the Wild want to defeat this Vegas team, they need Kirill going, they need Boldy going, and of course, they need their goaltender to stay strong in the blue paint and secure these wins on the road, which he did. Now they go back home after the break. Blues, Jets, big-time bets. Let's get to all of that and more. But first, this episode is also brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? I've been feeling that a lot lately between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment. It's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So you stop just managing your money and start building your wealth. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Pod your first listen every single day. Continue to smash that subscribe button, the follow button, leave a 5-star review. Jets up 2-0 in their series. Another Canadian team off to a very fine start in the first round of the playoffs. Mark Scheifele, Kyle Connor. Let's talk about them and where their fantasy value is going next year, because, you know, those two guys, obviously the last few playoff runs haven't really performed to the level of what they do in the regular season and the level of the organization the fans want them to be. They're doing that now. Back-to-back game winners for Kyle Connor. Back-to-back goals for both those two players. Yep. Connor Hellebuyck was playing great in game 2. So was Jordan Binnington. So were the Blues. It was a 2-1 game.
Sure.
But those top two guys, when you look at what they've done this year and how they're playing right now in the playoffs, how high would you be willing to go on Kyle Connor and a guy like Mark Scheifele, who have popped off for 40-plus goals?
Mark Scheifele, I think you and I need to have maybe more of a conversation, and I need more of a thought into it, because he is a polarizing at times fantasy piece. But there is no doubt in my mind that Kyle Connor has now, not like he didn't before, Steele, Kyle Connor has 153 goals over the last 4 seasons. He has 331 points in 308 regular season games. So I'll leave Scheifele for another time. Kyle Connor should be one of the first few left wingers off the board in the fantasy game. First round, stretch, not happening. Second round, back end of the second round, could very much see it. Also, when you have such a balanced team in the Winnipeg Jets, and this is their series to lose, let's be clear. But that top 4 pairing of Morrissey, DeMello, Pionk, and Sandberg, it's not super sexy on paper, but my goodness me, is it effective? And you have guys in Pionk and Morrissey who can put up points. And then you got DeMello and Sandberg to balance it out. Masterclass by Kevin Cheveldayoff in the front office, building this team to a certain degree. And look, like I just, when I look at this series, Steele, and credit due to the St. Louis Blues, who have kept this one very close, and it could easily be 1-1. When I look at that box score, though, from game 2, there is a clear number here that was the Blues undoing, and I know it was a 2-1 game. 23 giveaways to only 13 giveaways for the Jets. You cannot let a team that's feeling it up front right now, like they are, that many chances. And again, you mentioned it. Binnington was there when needed. I'll leave it at this. Kyle Connor is officially a superstar, in my opinion, and still somehow falls under the radar. The Jets might be looking at a sweep here, because that's how good they are.
Yeah.
Let's just give the Blues some credit, though. As the hottest team down the stretch, they're just not as complete as the Winnipeg Jets. That's a fact.
Career high 97 points for Kyle Connor. Career high 87 points for Mark Scheifele. Scheifele, 2 goals, 5 points. Kyle Connor, 2 goals, 4 points. Both +4 right now. 12 penalty minutes for Mark Scheifele as well in the playoffs. The boys are buzzing out in Winnipeg, up 2-0.
Yes, sir.
But that might change. So let's get to big time bets.
Let's
get to big time bets.
And
if you won't mind, I'll kick us off with all 3 of my picks.
Please go ahead. I have 5 picks tonight, Steele, so buckle up.
Well, I'm buckled up for sure. I can't wait for those. Number 1, though, you just said it. The Blues have really kept this series close, and it could be 1-1. And Binnington's been great. I think at home with that barn buzzing, I think the noise might get to Winnipeg a little. And I know they got the whiteout themselves in Winnipeg. Sure. It's all said and done. Blues money line at home. I got the Jets in 6, so the Blues got to win at least 1 or 2 games. A sweep would be pretty cool, but Blues on the money line. They've kept these games really close. It could have gone either way. That's my first pick. Second pick, like I just said, The Wild have proved that they can hang with the big dogs and even take it to them at times. Wild on the money line to go up 2-1 in this series, probably plus money, I believe, the last time I saw it.
Definitely plus money.
Wild money line for my second pick. And for my last and final and lock of the night, the Lightning got absolutely outclassed, embarrassed in game one. That's not going to happen again either. They're going to come out swinging. They're going to take the physicality straight to the Florida Panthers. Vasilevsky needs to be a lot better, and I expect him to do so because he's still a top 3 goaltender in the league. Lightning, money line, lock of the night for Thursday's bets.
Juicy. I don't know if it's that Tennessee whiskey still lingering, Steele, but I like the juice.
I got whiskey in my veins right now, bud.
Yes, you do. You're 50% whiskey right now, Steele, and I see you and I appreciate you. I'm going anytime point across the board with 5 players that I absolutely love. And I actually brought this up on FanDuel. The only one that's not up there is Kyle Connor anytime point, but hit me with Brady Tkachuk anytime point, Auston Matthews anytime point, Matthew Tkachuk anytime point, and Kirill the Bill Kaprizov anytime point, along with Kyle Connor. You might be going, Flip, I don't know about that. That's a lot of players for not that much juice. At least 4 of those guys are going to be on the score sheet, and I'm pretty confident in all of them finding it right now without even adding Kyle Connor. You're getting almost 5 times your money. Chuck a 20 piece, chuck a 25, add Kyle Connor. You're going to be looking at well over $100 in profit. I love these 5 anytime points. Smash them all together and let's get after it.
I'm loving those player props. You know I'm smashing that parlay together.
Have to.
Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On NHL Game Night. Every game, every night until a Stanley Cup champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. And from your boys here, Flip Livingstone and Steele Rodin, we wish you good luck with those bets. Let us know how you do out there on Thursday, and we shall see you back here again tomorrow.
Go Leafs, go.